This week on DineDrinkCLE, the podcast, you've done a lot of work digging around town, finding these holiday pop-up bars. Tell us about it.
Yes, they are killing me. There are 33 so far, maybe more or less if I missed them, but I have 33 holiday bars in Northeast Ohio, and every region is they're not all just concentrated downtown. It's like literally across the board. So we have...
I went to a movie at the Chagrin Valley Documentary Festival and learned more about Michelin stars, and I wondered why Cleveland doesn't have any. We have an exploding culinary scene. We should have some high-level recognition. For most of the rating systems, for all the rating systems, it's an unidentified, anonymous person that goes out.
Did you mention what your favorite was?
That's what I was saying. I have a hard time. I really like the pink peppercorn gin, but the blood orange also at Gervasi was pretty good.
Yeah.
Are you saying from Gervasi? I'm Josh Duke.
And I'm Alex Darus.
And you're either watching or listening to DineDrinkCLE, the podcast, where each and every week we are joined by Cleveland's best and brightest food experts, insiders, and influencers talking all things food and drink here in the Northeast Ohio area. What are we talking about today, Alex?
Yes, it's a end of the year Black Friday episode, so we're going to be talking about holiday bars. There seem to be more Christmas pop-up bars than ever. We have a fun story from Paris Wolfe that kind of breaks down the restaurant ratings that we all like to read and figure out where to go. And we're also going to be doing a wrap-up on the Spirited Women series that Paris and I have done all year. So
Gotcha. Sounds fun and festive. The holidays are here officially. But first up, you've done a lot of work digging around town, finding these holiday pop-up bars. Tell us about it.
Yes, they are killing me. There are 33 so far, maybe more or less if I missed them, but I have 33 holiday bars in Northeast Ohio, and every region is they're not all just concentrated downtown. It's like literally across the board. So we have some of the ones that we expect around the corner in Lakewood does the Christmas Corner Bar. There's the Xmas Bar pop-up in the Flats. I think last year you went to the Velvet Dog one, which they're bringing back, but there's a lot of new ones. So Nano Brew on West 25th, they're doing a Holiday Land bar. It's inspired by their beer pack. I got to see it last weekend. It's really awesome. There's a few other new ones. Griswold's is what they're calling it after National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, but it'll be at the Old School Pizza and Wings in Avon Lake. Okay. And on top of the building, they got like a full cutout replica, like several feet long, of the house, like with all the lights. It lights up and stuff. It's really...
Alice, can I ask a question?
Yes.
These aren't all new bars.
No, the new pop-up concepts.
Inside the bars.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to just pause real quick. We are horrible hosts because we forgot to introduce Paris Wolfe.
Oh, yeah. Paris is here.
Welcome,
guys.
Paris. Yeah, we're just talking holiday bar, so we got a little excited and carried away.
Around, I guess, bringing you in around your neck of the woods, you recently went to a couple, correct?
I've been out to the wine region, and there's some in Debonais Vineyards and one in Grand River Cellars where they've really decked it out, and they have special drinks just designed for the holidays.
Yeah, and that seems it's also cool because a lot of these, like you said, now we have the wineries doing it. We have some higher end, I guess, restaurants like Poppy. They're doing kind of a ski chalet kind of pop up outdoor vibe. The Yard in Willoughby, they're doing an outdoor one. I think people are taking advantage of this weird weather and stuff.
Yeah,
so
and that one,
so many.
Sorry, but to jump on that one specifically, I've seen like a little glimpse of it. I liked how they kind of are leaning into like this whole front yard holiday decorations, like sort of aesthetic. Like it could just be somebody's house on the street almost. Like I like that, you know.
Yeah, and it's cool too because it's like, okay, like I think Around the Corner is a good example. Like they've kind of been doing this, it seems like forever. They have all the lights, but now people are really trying to differentiate. Like I know the Grand River Cellars is like a Grinch bar. The one I mentioned is the National Lampoon's bar. Like they all have different themes, and there's so many events, so many different festive cocktails, and people are going nuts. I mean, I went to also this last weekend, stopped by the one in the Flats, and it was hands down the longest line out the door. Like, and it's not even, as of filming this, it wasn't even Thanksgiving yet, you know? So
yeah, I've experienced that. It literally is out the door, like you said. And I recommend going early for that one, because if you go during like the day when it's not quite that sort of sweet spot of what, like 10:30. If you go a little bit before that, maybe around 8, 9, you might be able to get just in quickly, but after that it's going to be like a wait for sure.
And I think like it's a great setup, and I think they have the advantage of the location and the marketing, like literally being the Xmas bar. But as the list shows, there are literally more than 30 places. So
yeah, it's
do a crawl, check out different ones all season long. Like I think it is a fun thing. I think especially this year, it seems to be a little bit earlier. People got in the Christmas vibe earlier. I put up my tree early and everything. It's like whatever.
Now, when it comes to, I guess, bars that aren't really necessarily participating in the whole Christmas pop-up theming, is there any one or two that you could think of that you are just like, man, you guys should really do this? I know you would take this concept and run with it.
That's a good question.
I'm thinking of one. I'm thinking the name is escaping me right now. It's a cocktail bar in Lakewood that has like a Viking
LBM.
theme.
Yeah,
Yes.
they could do a fun.
I feel like they could do a
like
cool,
a Krampus
or a Nightmare Before Christmas, sort of like Halloween Christmas vibe. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, what was I just? One I didn't mention is like Tiki Underground in Cuyahoga Falls. So they're doing kind of Tiki Christmas bar vibes, and I think Porco's would throw a really good Christmas party. So you can't really beat that. But yeah, 33. And who knows, by the time this goes out, there might be more. Yeah. So
and that did you say that's up from last year when you did the same story, 16, right?
Yeah, I think last year I came up with 16, but yeah, this year it is like, I mean, I think if you follow the Cleveland pages on Instagram, it's everywhere already. So, and it is, well, what's also funny too is the holiday season. It is short weekends wise, like people have only so many weekends, but Sam McNulty, the owner of Nano Brew, told me like for the first time in 4 years, they're opening Nano Brew from, I think it's 5 days a week to 7 days a week, just from the demand, because there is the short holiday season. It's only going to be open 7 days a week for the month of December for the holiday bar. So
yeah, and last year when I was running around to these things, I just loved a lot of the sort of theming behind the drinks. I know Xmas Bar had one that was like filled with edible glitter. I think it had a naughty and a nice theme. I love that one from memory. That's the only one I can really think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I had a boozy hot chocolate at Nano Brew this weekend. That was pretty good.
Does Xmas Bar still do? Because last year I think they had a hot chocolate bar too.
I think they're doing something. Okay. I mean, when I went, it was pretty packed in the evening, but it was definitely. It seems like every year too, even these bars that have been doing it just kind of refine and get more and more like literally just over the top with the decor. It's like literally floor to ceiling lights and everything. So. And now we're talking to Paris even more. You are working on or have written a really interesting story about the restaurant rating system. So, hi, Paris.
Hi, Alex. Hi, Josh.
Yeah, so I think we've talked here on the podcast in the past. Cleveland has some James Beard nominations. I think people are in general more familiar with like the Michelin stars, but kind of break down what are these different restaurant ratings and why'd you decide to dive into it?
Okay. What happened was I went to a movie at the Chagrin Valley Documentary Festival and learned more about Michelin stars. And I wondered why Cleveland doesn't have any. We have an exploding culinary scene. We should have some high level recognition. So I decided I'd take a look at Michelin stars, James Beard Awards, and the AAA Diamond rankings and see what they all represent. What I found is Michelin stars, which originated in France with the tire company because they wanted people to drive to different restaurants.
Okay, I was going to ask about that.
Yes.
It is the tire company.
Yes,
then.
they wanted people to drive to restaurants, use up their tires, and get new tires. So,
oh my God, that's so weird.
Yeah.
Capitalism. Crazy.
Smart marketing in
crazy.
In the early 1900s.
Yeah.
So they started rating restaurants. They came here in 2006. So it's been a long time before they moved to the US and started rating restaurants.
And with that, like, did you learn a little bit about the process of how a restaurant gets a Michelin star? Like, do they go to every restaurant and do they keep going?
No, they get
tips,
suggested tips, that kind of thing. for most of the rating systems, for all the rating systems, it's an unidentified anonymous person that goes out. They have a list of criteria specific to their awards, and they go through not being recognized, hopefully, and take a look at everything and then see how everybody ranks. Now, when it comes to Michelin, it's 1, 2, and 3 stars. You don't compete against each other. There can be as many Michelin-starred restaurants that meet the criteria.
Whereas James Beard, it's a little bit more like
It's
a
competition.
Grammys or an Oscars of winning the categories. And that is also kind of similar to those award shows, a committee, right? Voting.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a lot more. And then with the AAA, they have inspectors, again, anonymous, who go and use a 13-point system with, I think, 57 criteria within those that they look at and then decide if the restaurants get a 1 to 5 diamonds.
And where does Cleveland kind of rank on that scale? Like, do we have any is 5 the best?
5 is the best.
Do we have any 5s?
We do not have any 5s.
Oh.
We do not have any 4s. There's 2 4s in Cincinnati and 1 in Columbus. But one of the things I noticed as I was looking through is you can apply.
Oh.
So you can apply to be inspected. They won't tell you when they're inspecting you, but get on their radar.
And what would that one, I think, like even for me, I'm a little less familiar with the diamond rating. Like how did that come about?
That came about, again, automobile influence. AAA
So
started
weird.
in the early 1900s, just like the Michelin guy did.
Oh, it's AAA?
Yeah.
Like AAA, the people
Automotive.
you call when your car breaks down. That's funny.
Yeah. So they moved into restaurant ratings as well. And the idea is it gives you a feel for where you're going to stop. It's not necessarily that you're bad if you're a 1-star. You just have fewer amenities. You might be a grab-and-go restaurant.
But like, would you, if you applied to be inspected and you just like sucked, like they don't have to give you a
No,
star,
they don't have
right?
to give you a star. But the thing is, as a consumer, you don't know if they don't have a star because they were bad or because they never were rated.
Yeah, that is very interesting.
And is there a sense for what is the most prestigious out of all of these between James Beard, Michelin, and AAA?
Michelin, probably. We don't have those in Cleveland because, like I said, they don't do the Midwest. But I'm hoping that changes.
Well, yeah, and it's just interesting how it started with they want to drive, because I think now, like, I've gone on trips and been like, oh, what are the Michelin restaurants or whatever, and you have to book a reservation like months in advance.
Oh,
it's not
right.
like, oh, let's drive and stop right here at this Michelin star restaurant.
Right.
And
In fact, they say like 1 star means, stop by. 2 stars means worth a little effort. And 3 star means going way out of your way and planning to go for something special.
But even think of, okay, Cleveland doesn't have any Michelin stars technically, but there's still restaurants you have to book in advance.
way in advance.
And something I wanted to ask too, because I think with social media and stuff, Yelp, Google reviews, social, like those kind of user aggregated rating sites, how does that, I guess, do you have any insight on that part of it?
What I got when I asked the PR people, the marketing people at each of the different rating systems, that they said, they are objective. They have a list of criteria. They have trained inspectors who measure against the same criteria for every place. When it comes to the subjective, it could be anybody. They could have a good experience, a bad experience. They could be mad. They could be
personal taste preferences.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very subjective. It's not bad, but you have to take into consideration the factors that might influence them.
Yeah, and I think among those factors might be just like the demographics of someone who's likely to use this particular website.
Well,
TripAdvisors versus like Google reviews or whatever the other options are.
Yeah, like if you don't have a Facebook, you're not going to give it rating on Facebook.
Exactly. And I think we may have talked about this on the podcast before, or maybe personally, but I have this idea where when it comes to those sort of user-generated reviews, I would love to be able to see a photo, an age, and like maybe a gender, so I have a better understanding of
you
if
should not
our
be allowed
tastes
to have
are going to be aligned.
Maybe
anonymous username.
even what they do for a living. If they're a chef, I might.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I
Take
was
them more
kind of going to
seriously.
say too is, I mean, I think not to toot our horns, but it's kind of where like we come in because, okay, you have these big rating systems, but for someone in Cleveland, you can't look at the Michelin Guide and know where to eat. James Beard, we're getting a lot more recognition, but it's still not everybody. Like, and there's an application process, and then that's the one end of it. And then the other end is you have all of these subjective reviews from people who don't know what they're doing. So it's like they almost need somebody in the middle, but I literally think that would be like
AAA
us.
is close. AAA is close to being in the middle because
But it just sheer like the resources to be able to go to like every restaurant.
right.
And when it comes to the casual diner and how much weight and stock they put on these I guess more prestigious awards and recognitions, how much do you think they take it into consideration? So I ask that because I think about an industry like the movie industry. When it comes to like reviews and critics, there's like the stigma like, oh, who cares what the critic said about this movie? I like it and the fans like it and et cetera, et cetera. I wonder if there's that same sort of sense in the food industry, or do you know, or what sense do you have in that for casuals?
Think maybe in bigger cities, like I'm sure like New York and stuff, there might be people feel some type of way about one outlet, or they have their trusted people. But I think
I would even say in Cleveland, now that I've been thinking about it, something like an NEO Foodies or one of the Facebook or other social media groups that you have to be a foodie to be let in. I might put a little more credit. And then since I am a member of NEO Foodies and I watch, I know like if certain people comment on a restaurant, I know they have good taste.
yeah, no, that's exactly. And that's what I feel like. It's like there almost needs to be like Yelp and everything. It has such a good intention, but it's almost like, I don't know, you need a little bit of credential, something. Or just something of like, I want to know like, It needs to be like a dating app. Like I want to know what your top 5 restaurants in Cleveland are, and if I agree with them, or you're
Swipe
somebody
left,
who's like,
swipe
I don't
right.
like anything pickled, like I'm not gonna agree with your opinions.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Josh said, only take it further.
Yes, like I really want to know like what, and if you're like somebody who wants to like, I don't know, my pet peeve about those sites, we might have talked about it before, is I think like the way people review service, like in general, I really just like, it's so iffy.
And service today, after the pandemic, it's hard to judge a restaurant on their service.
I think it's like how I take it is like if I get really outstanding, amazing service, like then I'm going to say something. But otherwise, like, it doesn't really factor in because I'm going out to eat and like going in someone else's home or space. You know what I mean? It's
right.
And so I think that's the problem too with, I wish on Yelp you could be banned for like rating things based on whether or not like you thought your waiter had an attitude. It's like so stupid. But yeah, no.
I might disagree a little bit with you there. A little bit. I do think service is important, you know.
I think it is, but I don't know.
But yeah, to your point, it's going to be super subjective. Like a waiter saying, "Hi, how's it going, guys?" could be like, "Oh my God, this person has a horrible attitude to one person."
Yeah, like oh, they didn't even greet us. It's like
exactly.
okay, they're doing a lot. Like I don't know. You don't sit at work like all day at your computer like chatting. You know what I mean? So stupid. But no, I think this is an extremely interesting thing that, I mean, even like restaurant doors that have like stickers of different
what does
ratings.
that mean?
Yeah, what does it mean and what is worth paying attention to, I think is very important for foodies to know.
Yep. Okay, so you guys have a bit of an update, maybe a wrap up of the Spirited Woman tour you guys were going to and writing about. So tell us about it. How'd it go? How's it going?
Yes, we spent the year drinking. But we went to basically, did you know the final amount?
No, I did not.
I didn't either, but
more than 10.
I want to
sure
say
it's more than
closer
10.
to 15.
Yeah.
Like if that. We went to basically all the distilleries in Northeast Ohio, and we're kind of doing a reflective on how that went. And I think what we learned is that the booze landscape in Northeast Ohio is really exciting, and there's a lot of different things going on.
It's varied. I mean, we went to one where it was a little tiny place in an industrial park, and it was almost hard to find, and maybe 10 people could fit in the room. and they did some interesting things. And then we went to really glamorous places like Gervasi that do, I think, really great. I know you were narrowing down the spirits that you liked best, but I would be stuck on some of them because I like the pink peppercorn gin and I like the blood orange. It's just so hard to decide.
It's extremely hard. And I think, too, it's like something that naturally came out is like, and they're like, oh, we're going to do profiles on these distilleries and kind of thinking it was going to be formulaic. And I don't know about you, but it was so not because all of these, there's so many different stories. Like Minglewood Distillery in Worcester, for example, there's so much history of it. Used to be a, what do you
an ice house.
An ice house, yeah, like and coal. Like it just, the whole history there was cool. And then we had places like Towpath Distillery where it was like the family generations of making wine and then how that, I don't know, like the stories wrote themselves.
No, the story, they did. Like even with Red Eagle, you know, Gene, the owner, said, you know, that was going to be his winter hobby because he makes wine the rest of the year. So his winter hobby, and it kind of got away from him.
Yeah.
And then it's in an old speakeasy. So, you know, there's kind of interesting things that just kept popping up everywhere.
Yeah. And then I think we also chose to do it at an interesting year because we're writing like these historical parts. And then we recently went to the new Cleveland whiskey multi-million location, the Flats, that I think is really going to kind of bring more of Cleveland's distilleries on the map even more as like it being a destination. You know what I mean?
It's a great destination. They've really done some cool things with an old building that was used for transferring for food. It was a food depot.
Okay. Now, this may be a challenging question. And if you're not allowed to say, let me know. Do you have favorites?
Okay. So I was thinking about this. I have categories. Okay. I think that it's incorrect for me to not pick Western Reserve Distillery because I live by it. I go there at least like probably once a month. They have great happy hour. They have great food. I've taken the cocktail classes. I think every single spirit I've had there is delicious. I tell everybody if you want to like make yourself like a certain cocktail, like a martini, get it there because that's the best version of it.
Oh, that reminds me. A couple of episodes ago, we were talking about pumpkin spice, and I shot around the idea of like, why don't they do a pumpkin spice latte? At Western Reserve Distillery, they had it there.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
like
did.
a pumpkin spice latte?
I didn't get it though, but I should have.
Oh, that sounds good. So I think that is my favorite, but I also had written down that the Red Eye Negroni at Seven Brothers is probably the best cocktail I've had all year.
That was interesting because I was going to say Seven Brothers is one of my favorites, but I also love the romance of Gervasi.
Yes, I do too. And where else? If I lived closer to Minglewood, like if I lived, I would be there all summer, every single day. Like their spirits are really interesting. And I think too, it's just like so many different kinds of products. Like there they were making
they had that root beer
liqueur and even was it Gervasi that does the like the limoncello. One of them we went to did like a bunch of different stuff and I just think it's a cool snapshot and I'm excited to look in like 5 years and see
who's emerging more because even some of the bourbons were good.
Yes,
and you know Kentucky people, you know aside. We do some good stuff.
Well, that I think was something I found interesting is the amount of like almost every distillery I think had a whiskey.
Yes.
Like they didn't all have a vodka. They didn't all have everything else, but it must be like.
That's one thing it seems everybody, that's one thing everybody has.
Yeah. Which is interesting too because the time you age it, everything else like.
Okay, but was the dill pickle vodka your favorite of everything?
My favorite bottle? That would be hard.
I know.
Dill pickle?
I like the dill pickle whiskey we had too, though.
The dill pickle's good
Where they at Pickle Fest?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I liked buying the maple products because my parents make maple syrup. And I'm from Chardon, so buying maple whiskey, maple whatever was fun.
One of the Western Reserve it's not tequila, agave spirit.
Right.
Was something in some kind of cask Finnish something like that. And
I
that
think it
was really good. Like, we've really tried everything. And honestly, like, for the amount of just sheer literally sips we've had, we really didn't have that many bad ones.
We didn't.
Like, there was a lot of stuff I would get again.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, you'll have to share the bad ones off air with me, so I know what to avoid. But
it's personal preference. It's like Yelp.
True.
But
Paris, did you mention what your favorite was?
That's what I was saying. I have a hard time. I really like the pink peppercorn gin, but the blood orange also at Gervasi was pretty good.
yeah.
Are you saying from Gervasi is your favorite distillery?
I keep saying that, don't I?
No, but Seven Brothers
I think
too.
we might need to read between the lines here, folks, at home.
Yeah. But that's the thing is Gervasi is, but it's so far from both of us.
Right. It's
So I feel
too
like
far.
Seven Brothers is
Seven
your
Brothers
local
is around
one.
the corner, and I buy their gin all the time.
And that's a great one to have around the corner because their cocktails are fun too. It's like, I just think
I like their gin. I like Western
Oh,
Reserve.
they had,
vodka
barrel-aged
because
gin.
It's organic and very clean.
Mhm.
I like. Yeah, I guess it depends on where you are.
Totally, but my liquor cabinet definitely got a little more full this year.
I know, yes.
Due to this, but you'll have to check out. We're gonna do some
A wrap-up.
roundups, yes, and the best bottles from one bottle from each place, which has been extremely difficult to narrow down, as you can see. But yeah, so Spirited Women, success, drinking in Northeast Ohio, it's better than ever. Thanks so much for listening to or watching DineDrinkCLE, the podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at DineDrinkCLE and subscribe to our newsletter at cleveland.com/newsletters.